2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spooky Zoe channel. Today we're going to do another booktube wrap up. We're going to do our February wrap up as well as we are going to do our March reads potentially. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. So grab your coffee. Other thing to say, thank you so much for 18 subscribers. I never thought that I was going to get to 18 subscribers. I thought there was going to be like 3 or 4 of you. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. As you can see, I also post my gaming stuff up here as well. So if you would like to go and look at my gaming stuff, I'm at twitch.tv/spookyzoe, double Y, as it is in YouTube. I post clips and I post my VODs from there as well. You can go give a follow if you want. It's free. But we're gonna go ahead and get into some more booktube stuff. Oop. It's not sharing. Properties. There we go. Perfect. So, with our February wrap up, you see 2026 February up at the top. We then also have 5 books read. I know you're like, hey Zoe, you said you're going to read 14. What the hell is up with that? We will talk about that later. But we have 35 pages. We also have 59.25 hours. Average time to finish was about 5 days. So it wasn't too bad. As for our moods, we have emotional. We also, all the books are emotional. We're going to talk about that later, but all of them were emotional. We also have 2 reflective and 2 lighthearted, and then sad, inspiring, informative, hopeful, funny, and challenging. For pace, we kind of stayed a little diverse, which I liked. We had one that was fast paced, we had one that was kind of slow paced, and then we had 3 that were like medium paced. Page number, I didn't complete a book this month. I really wanted to, but as we'll talk about later, I was in the bed sick for like 10 days. So like half the month I was sick. So we're gonna have to get into that a little bit later. For my audiobook length, I had one that was sub 8 hours, then I had 4 that were between 8 and 16. This is kind of how I like to keep my books. I always keep them in there. Cool, not too long, because I have a lot that I want to read. Fiction, nonfiction, I was really proud of myself. I read 2 fiction books this month and 2 nonfiction books and 3 fiction. I was very happy with that because I'm trying to like read at least 1 nonfiction a month and also 1 physical a month. To no one's surprise, my genres, I have 4 queer books because like why not? 2 romance, 2 memoirs, 2 historical, and then politics, literary history, and contemporary. For my Libby books, I only read 2 of my Libby books this month. Some of them it was because I had them and then they had to be returned before I can read them. Some of them I've suspended, like put on hold on the next one to get it basically because I just did not have time this month. But only 2 Libby books. For my format, as we talked about before, I did not finish a singular book that was a page limit. However, I did read 54.23 hours of audiobooks. So I was fairly happy with myself with that. Again, all of my books are in English. We're going to attempt to get some other languages in this year potentially, but that's not going to be until later in the year when I talk about that. Then we have star ratings. My average was 4.1. We had 2 3.5s. We had a 4.0. We had a 4.5. And we had a 5.0. For my pages and minutes in February, you can see at the beginning of the month I was really busy. We kind of started off a little slow, but then we kind of like got into gear around the 10th and around Valentine's Day, and in the middle of the month we were just going for it. It was great. And then you see I plateaued and got sick right here. The 21st was when I first got sick, and then I was sick for 10 days after that. So you can see a couple of the days I'm like low, did not read a single thing, but then you can see some days are really high because I read a bunch because I was just in the bed doing nothing. But it's not too bad. So we'll be okay. We'll be okay. But without further ado, we're going to look at my little wrap-up graphics. So, as we talked about wrap-up 4, 5 books, 35 pages, 59.25 hours. Average rating was a 4.1. See some of the books I read here, as well as some of the stats we've already talked about. So we're going to move on to the calendar. For my calendar, you can see I did read Crescent Moon Tea Room throughout the beginning half of the month, but then it kind of dropped off because I was reading other books. You can see that I read Like in Love with You by Emma R. Albin. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The Secret Book Club. Crush by Carmen Lee. Samuel Adjusted by Allison Stoner, 107 Days by Kamala Harris, and then The Prophets by uh, Robert Jones Jr. Yes, Robert Jones Jr. But I'm in the middle of reading Educated. I really want to finish it. I started that the same day I finished 107 Days, but it was just I couldn't finish it right quick because I got sick. And then also Crescent Moon Tea Room, we're going to try to finish that this month too, but we'll see what happens. So, first book we read is Like in Love with You. This is the Mischief and Matchmaking series by Emma R. Albin. Basically, this is like Bridgerton but gay. And I'm here for that because, well, we don't have to talk about Bridgerton right now because that last season I liked it, but I also didn't like it. But this is basically my little Bridgerton but gay. It is teenagers, so it is like YA. Is it YA? They seem young to me, but it could be because I'm just in my mid-20s and they're like newly 18, but that's besides the point. But this was a fiction, historical, queer romance. It was emotional, funny, lighthearted, medium-paced, but let's look at what I said in my review. So in my review, I said this was Emma R. Albin that I need to reread again. I loved it, but I didn't exactly get the signs of those who were in past books, which is probably my fault. Basically, for the Emma R. Albin books, they're kind of like standalones that you can just read. However, characters from the previous books will pop up in here. I didn't know exactly why we went to these two characters, Rosalie and Catherine. Maybe it's just because I read the last book literally in like February of last year when the last one came out. So it's been a little bit and I maybe don't remember a bunch. The first two books connected well because the first two girls got together and then their cousin and their brother, or both of their cousins or something like that, they all got together and formed like a little I guess plot point that you'll know about if you read the book. But basically, I love the dynamic between Rosalie and Catherine. This was like a true rivals to lovers that was perfectly set up for their competitive spirits. It was very similar to the first book, so I think I was looking for something different, but I'm gonna reread it later and have my thoughts. I liked it for the most part. It was just kind of like it felt like a copy, not a copy paste, but like it felt way too similar to the first book to be like its own book. So I was hoping to get a little bit more out of that. As for our content warnings, we have graphic bullying, sexual consent, classism, moderate, homophobia, misogyny, sexism, and xenophobia. And then minor, we have an adult minor relationship, child abuse, and sexual assault. So please take care of yourself. Keep those in mind. I rated this a 3.5. I thought it was kind of good, but I do need to reread it in order to get the full, like, boost of it, I guess. But the second book I read was The Secret Crush Book Club by Carmen Lee with Angel Keene as my narrator. I have been waiting to read this series. I think, I don't exactly remember when I read the first book, but I read the very first book of the Peach Blossom series, I think in July? It was either July or June, I can't remember. And then the second one came out in August, and that was The Relationship Mechanic. Um, Ate that up. The first one was like the 7-10 split because it was about two like high school rivals who start a bowling club together at their old high school. It's so freaking cute. The second one is about a mechanic who falls in love with like this like not influencer but like travel rich girl who like doesn't want to get her hands dirty. This one, oh, and I guess for context, there's a family of sisters and each one of these books follow the sisters and their relationships. So this one is about Danny. Danny is a single mom devoted to her son and her family, and she doesn't really have a lot of time to do everything else, but she kind of likes her son's librarian a little bit, and they started going to a book club together, and it's really, really cute, and I absolutely loved it. I also rated this 3.5 stars. It was a nice closure to the Tales of the Sister, although the story is continuing in October. There's a brother they have that maybe I just didn't think about it or I didn't catch it because all of the whammon and the sapphic love and the romance, but they have a brother, I think, or it's like a brother of one of the like people who's gotten into the family. I don't know. But that book's coming out in October, so I'm really excited about that. That one is a straight romance though. So we'll see what happens with that. But I've loved this series so much and it gives me a breather in between the horrors of the other books I was reading. I loved Zoe and Danny's arc despite it being very simple. Danny's ex-husband is a bitch though. You'll get into that. Basically, This had a lot of plot, but it also didn't have a lot of plot at the same time. And like sometimes I love for my books to have plot and have romance. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I didn't really want there to be that much in there. So we were kind of just going through the story. You meet Danny, you meet Zoe. You're kind of going through the mix of everything and kind of trying to see what happens. Like they end up getting together very soon in the book, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, and it just like doesn't end up being amazing. It's kind of like they're just like go going through the motions of a relationship without being in a relationship, which was kind of weird to me. But I really did like it. I'm probably going to reread these books at some point, either this year or next year, just to get the feel of them again before the next book comes out, because hopefully I'll read that when it comes out. But for your content warnings, we have graphic sexual content. They do be getting it on. Moderate, we have some homophobia, some misogyny, a little bit of an abandonment issue, and then the minor ones we have are biphobia, death of a parent, and lesbophobia. But I really liked it. It was emotional, hopeful, lighthearted, medium paced. I want to reread it again. It's just I did not have time to go through it again this month because I kind of want to I read a book and then I kind of want to go back and reread it and pick up on my second notes of things. But the next book I read was Semi Well Adjusted Despite Literally Everything by Alison Stoner, narrated by Alison Stoner. So, this is a nonfiction queer memoir. This was emotional, inspiring, reflective, medium paced. I have wanted to read this for so long, and I'd been waiting on it for Libby for literally forever because I watched Alison Stoner grow up. I knew Alison Stoner from Camp Rock. I knew Alison Stoner from Phineas and Ferb. I knew them from Sunny with a Chance. Like, there were so were they on Sunny with a Chance? I don't think they were on Sunny with a Chance. No, no, no. That was a different person, I think. But I'd watched them grow up throughout everything, and I was like, oh my god, I want to read this book. Because everyone had been like talking about the Jeanette McCurdy book. I never really watched iCarly or Sam and Cat. I wasn't that much of a Nickelodeon kid besides the Nickelodeon cartoons. So, like, the only really show I watched besides the cartoons was Drake and Josh. Um, but I really wanted to read this because I had kind of followed their career throughout. This was emotional and heavy as hell. Like some of the times my heart just broke for them. Like as I said before, I said Sunny with a Chance. I don't know if they're actually on Sunny with a Chance. I need to double check that actually. I feel bad, but I at least know them from Lisa Verb Camp Rock and the Missy Elliott video. But this showed the true person underneath the persona that has been shown in entertainment. I just wanted to hug them and look into the resources they listed at the back of the book. There's a whole last 10 minutes that lists resources for if you're queer, if you have what's it called? If you are having mental health crises, if you don't have that good a relationship with your family, and all this different stuff. But it's great to see a story you watch as a teen and a child grow up to become a queer person who fights for justice, hope, and happiness for everyone. Alison Stoner, to my knowledge, is still on Phineas and Ferb with the reboot, but they also are a mental health advocate now and are advocating for children's rights in movies and TV and actors in general. And also of the kids who get put on their families' vlogs and stuff like that, because that's now a new, or not new, but a booming thing that's happening on YouTube and TikTok and things like that. It was very emotional, very informative, inspiring, reflective, medium paced. Some of these content warnings you need to look at and you need to save yourself. As in please look at these and take these very seriously because they're in there. Um, very graphic depictions of eating disorders, rape, and sexual assault. Moderate alcoholism, domestic abuse, and homophobia. And then there is minor suicidal thoughts, vomit, and schizophrenia or psychosis. So please take care of you. Please take care of yourself. I don't want to recommend a book and you end up not being well after it in a bad way. We're not doing that. Please take care of yourself. But yeah, this was great. I would recommend it to people who watched Allison growing up. I don't know if you would get anything out of it if you did not watch Allison growing up. You may just be oh, the entertainment industry is a disaster. I will say part of this, I did have dreams as a child of being a actor on Disney Channel. I did end up doing like musicals and plays for my school. Never got to that level of like TV and movies. Thank God, because I think with everything else I had in my life, stuff would have not been okay. Um, but next I read 107 Days by Kamala Harris, as well as Kamala narrated it. This was nonfiction, history, memoir, politics. This was really heartbreaking to read. Um, because it's just like, damn. It basically tells the story of the 107 days Kamala Harris had to run for president. And it was one of the wildest and most like insane presidential campaigns ever. Um, I rated it 4.5. Kamala is an amazing woman. I love this detailed account of her presidential campaign run. I did not agree with everything she said or stood for. There were some comments, especially on not current world events, but world events that were happening about a year and a half ago. They're still happening now that I did not agree with her on. Um, you know, fuck ICE, free Palestine, all that jazz, because the world's not good right now, but we're not talking about that right now. This was a peek behind the curtain of how like upside down a life can be by a presidential run and a presidential campaign. This also caused like a mourning process all over again for the woman we could have had as our president instead of who we have right now. But I really like this book. I only rated it a 4.5 because there were some things I disagreed with her about. And sometimes where like the chapter's really short and clippy for some reason. And like I kind of know why they were short and clippy because she's like had 107 days to catalog. This is a lot. But I feel like some of the points it just went like I don't agree with you there, girly. I'm gonna like not skip this section, but I'm not gonna pay attention to it as much. Um Content warnings for graphic, there was bullying, racism, and sexism. Moderate, there was gun violence, mass school shootings, death of a parent, and then minor was cursing, infidelity, and war. So please be careful of yourself, especially in like this time frame of everything. Please be careful with yourself reading this book. But I highly recommend it if you want to experience and read what Kamala was experiencing. Excuse me. What she was experiencing during that 107 days. Now, the last book I read was The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. If you guys have watched my previous video, you will know that I'm on Fable with Fats in the Slow Burn Book Club. Baby Back Books, aka Fats, love them so much. Go follow their channel, subscribe, love them so much. Join the book club. I love Fats. Fats has chosen trauma books for us. Um, like we do a vote, but like it seems like every book we're reading for the next like 6 months is kind of trauma. So we're hoping the second half of the the year is gonna be better. But we read The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. This was presented to me as like a boys kissing for February book. This was so much deeper than a boys kissing for February book. Basically it follows these, let me do the description because I remember part of this because basically it's an important debut novel about the far-reaching effects of love between two male slaves on a Mississippi plantation. The chapters are named for books of the Bible in this audiobook, and basically this is a myriad of different perspectives of slaves and masters and brutality, hopelessness, fear. Like there's a lot in here. The thing that I got interested in was the like religious imagery. I went to a Christian school, K through 12. I also have kind of like deconstructed from that. So it's really interesting to like look back and remember like the long-standing place of queerness in some traditional Black cultures, as well as like how Christianity was kind of shoved onto them. Well, not kind of, it was shoved onto them as like, we will see you in a better light if you do this. But for my review, I did a 4.0. This was a beautifully heartbreaking story. I really wish I could have looked more into the symbolism of the story and the reactions to the Bible, being raised in a Christian school, K through 12, as I talked about before. Um, this dealt with a lot of surprising themes of like heteronormativity, gender, sexuality, equality, spirituality, etc. There was some voodoo practices that were in there. There were some chapters that reflected back to African civilizations and culture and how that was presented. I loved Maggie. Maggie is that girl, and the ending kind of broke me apart. I hope I'm able to read this again with more in depth in a physical version because I did read the audiobook of this, and I did have to read this in like 3 or 4 days because I was behind on my reading due to being sick. Um, but this was outstanding, amazing. I'm so sorry for the yawning, but this is such a heavy book to read. Um, so please be careful. Take care of yourself. For your content warnings, there is graphic depictions of racism, rape, and slavery. There is moderate child death, also some homophobia in there, also some religious bigotry, as I talked about before, and the minor ones are like transphobia, excrement, and vomit. So please be careful with that. We don't exactly want you to not have a good time, but also this book was amazing. Yeah, highly recommend it. But maybe read it when you're in a good headspace. Because me being sick, this felt heavy. But with that being said, we are then going to talk about what my plans are for the rest of the month going into March. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Going into March, kind of what's my plan? What am I looking at? That sort of thing. So, as we were talking about my readings, so I'm still reading Crescent Moon Tea Room. I really need to wrap that up because it's not exactly my cup of tea, you know. But the books that I have currently reading, I am still currently reading Crescent Moon Tea Room. I don't know why it's taken me so long. I think it's just because it's a physical book. And I've been busy, busy, busy. I haven't really had time to sit down and just like read. It's been a lot of audiobooks have been my only thing. If you guys don't know, I am currently a graduate student getting my master's. Um, I graduate over the summer, so I'm kind of in like crunch time to get all of my research done in the next like 2 months. Then I can spend a bunch of time writing my thesis and defending my thesis. So we're in a little bit of a crunch time. Um, but I'm trying to keep up with this because I really like it and I really enjoy reading my books. I also, in the middle of Educated, I had mentioned Educated in my last reading wrap up. This I really hope is gonna be wrapped up soon. The other book that I'm currently reading is it This Is My Body or That Is My Body? What is the name of this book? This Is My Body. I was correct. So this is by Lindsay King Miller. This I told myself after the traumatizing 2 first months I've had, maybe I should like slow down and just read books for fun. And then I saw This Is My Body, and it's queer horror, which I love a queer book. I love a horror book, but also on my Audible account, it's not going to be available after the 13th. And as I'm recording this, this is the 10th. So I started that yesterday. I'm already 60% of the way through because I just basically listened to it for the whole entire day yesterday. I should be able to finish it today. But I'm really excited about that book. As for other books I want to read. So, we have my list right here. For book club this month for Fats, we are reading Beloved by Toni Morrison. That has been on my list for literally forever, so I'm very excited to read it. I've heard that is also a traumatizing book. So I'm hoping, excuse me, I can sprinkle in a little bit of like joy and magic throughout. I am then gonna hopefully finish Crescent Moon Tea Room and Educated, as I talked about before. My next book on my list is a little too familiar. One of my friends had recommended this. It's like a werewolf romance type book, if I remember. I'm not exactly here with the werewolf romance. I was talking in YouTube comments to Fats about this a while ago, and it's just like it seems like all the werewolf books just tend to be how do I put this? focusing on the private parts, and that's about it. Um, I want more than that. I read Made by Ali Hazelwood, wasn't my favorite. Probably need to reread it again. But this will be like my first true, I guess, werewolf romance book, so we'll see what happens. I also want to read Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. I have heard a lot about Memphis and about how like it goes through generational trauma and how it blends like living in the South, being black, I think there's an element of music to it, if I'm not mistaken. So I really want to read it. I've had it for a while. I really need to read it. The next book I want to read is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. This is like a queer twist on Arthur and Guinevere from the Arthur tales and stuff like that. Knights of the Round Table, all that jazz. I had read a lot of these books when I was in college. A lot of these like queer twist ones. Some of them are better than others. But I've had this on. I want to read it. It's a cute little quick, cute little romance book. The next one I read is A Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I've had this for forever, and I've wanted to read it so much, but I keep forgetting about it, and I kind of like had it slotted as an autumn book, and I really didn't have it as an autumn book, but I think it could be a spring book as well, so we're gonna put it as a spring book. Next, a little bit of trauma, but it'll be okay. I have The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I have also wanted to read this book for forever. Um, I have it on Audible again. I'm just really hoping that I will be able to read it. I've heard a lot about it being a queer story. As I said, my last thing of what I wanted to read, my last video, queer story about black independence, being a black person growing up in America, or should I say the US. I just really want to read it because it seems good. It doesn't seem that long either. It says for audiobook it's only about 8 hours long, so I'm hoping that I can get through it and like sit with it because I don't want to really rush through it. The next book I want to read is Get Over It, April Evans. I have read Delilah Green. Love that whole entire series. Oh my god. For the other books that this author has written, oh my god, I'm blanking on the author. Hold on. Get Over It, April Evans. Ashley Herring Blake. Oh my god. So I read um the first book. I think it was Get Over. It was Forget It, Ramona Riley or something like that. It was Ramona Riley book. That was alright. It did not have the same magic as like the Delilah Green series did for me. However, we're hoping that it gets a little bit better. This came out last month, I think on the 3rd of February. I really want to read it. Haven't read it yet. It's gonna be my little like tee hee ha ha fun book. Ashley Herring Blake has also announced that the next book is already set to release. So we're gonna look at that too, because that's a lot of books. And then I think that's it for my readings. Oh, no, it isn't. Oh my god. Great thing that happened. So, despite loving queer books, I have never read Heartstopper. As you guys saw in my January wrap up video, I read a lot of graphic novels. I didn't get to read a lot this month because I was just so swamped with like research and then getting sick and all that jazz. But I have had the first book of Heartstopper on my Libby as a notify when you get this. Because for some reason, walk with me here. For some reason, my library had 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes. But did not have the first one. And I was like, that's a little weird. They finally literally gave it to me yesterday. They got a new copy of it. So I'm going to be reading it on my Libby app. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I have not watched the series. I missed like all that hype. But with Heated Rivalry being a thing, I need to read Heated Rivalry. I already know. We're getting to it. A friend gave me the HBO login, so we're gonna be getting there. But with all of the Heated Rivalry, I feel like I need to go back to Heartstopper and read this. The only thing I'm worried about Heartstopper is it's a high school set series. And being in my mid 20s, I'm kind of at the point where I can't really read high school books anymore unless I'm super invested in it. So I'm hoping that we're gonna get there, but we'll see. But that is my wrap up for February of 2026. And then this is also my hopefuls for March 2026. I'm hoping that I will be able to give you guys another update next month. We'll see what happens with that. I am currently on my spring break from school. I'm taking a week off just to like be a person and chill. As you can see, the hair was cut. The hair is also getting dyed today back to the purple because we love purple. As you can tell. Um, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you so much for 18 subscribers. I never thought I'd get there. If you want to follow me on Twitch, because it's for free, I stream games over there. So you can see me. I just finished up South of Midnight, and I'm going to be playing some more Cult of the Lamb, and I think some more Hades, too. So if you like roguelikes or like hack and slash, or if you just want to join my Discord, if you go over to my Twitch, you can also join my Discord. And we can have a lot of fun playing games and yapping about books because I also yap about books sometimes over there too. But thank you so much for everyone being here. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys next month for another reading wrap up. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later. Bye.